What's up? What's up, dude?
No, not much. Just another fantastic Friday.
Another day in
How are you?
paradise. What's up, everybody? We got Justin here, ready. We got Eli, what's up? And DIJ, that's got to be his store name or something like that. What's up? So, surprise, this was an unplanned coffee with Michael. I was supposed to have a doctor's appointment that was going to interfere with this whole deal, and that didn't happen. That got canceled. So we're here. This is a little impromptu. That's why you didn't see my post typically on Wednesdays announcing the weekly topic. I also send out emails and everything else, get everybody all fired up. That's not happening this week. But this week is something a little different, and it's going to be cool nonetheless. So you're going to get a bit of a double feature. So first, we're going to be talking with Jim here.
It's a double shot of espresso.
Dude, it's a double shot of espresso. I like that. Keep the theme going here. So we've got our double shot of coffee espresso here. And I'm going to introduce Jim to anybody who doesn't know who Jim is. But what Jim's covering today is awesome. He's going to be talking about how to beat the kind of adpocalypse that is iOS 14. And he's really cracked the code on this. Our tracking, mind you, not optimization. We'll get to the difference between those in a minute. Our tracking is near 100% now at Shine On. So, and most of that's thanks to Jim and Michael Zapke just really being in the trenches and trying to kind of figure out how to get ahead of this thing. So he's going to be sharing all of that with you in this week's Shot of Espresso, which we're going to be going over with quickly. So first, for those of you that don't know Jim, I want to quickly offer an introduction. So Jim, to me, is something of an idol. Most people have, posters of maybe Michael Jordan's or their sports idols on the wall. In my world, if I were to have a poster, it'd probably be Jim Crimella's face, and it'd be like right on my wall. So Jim started media buying back in 2008. So that makes him a dinosaur in our world. He's been doing this for a long time. He was the first person to drive $1 million in revenue to Teespring through ads, which is pretty crazy. Side note, he even taught Teespring how to install the Facebook Pixel and kind of what the Facebook Pixel was and how to implement that for their sellers. That tells you Jim's background and kind of where he comes from here. He's built over 4 stores to 7 figures, all in less than a year, which is pretty incredible, all in their first year, He's generated over $30 million in revenue on his own private stores. So, I mean, like, Jim here is, he knows what he's doing. If he says something about media buying, you should listen to him. You should take notes, right? I learn a ton from Jim every single day. And I've been in the media buying game for a while, and I'd say I've seen my share of success. But Jim, I just pale in comparison to this guy. He knows his stuff. He's a complete professional. And let's see, he's blown up a micro niche right now that you would never think you could do 7 figures a year in, and he's completely blowing that up. It's pretty cool. And something that I think is pretty sweet about Jim is he drives a Tesla. So he doesn't know this, but I envy him a little bit because his Tesla's. Huh?
I had 2 Teslas, but I had to sell the X because when we had our baby, it was too small. It was fit people or stuff. We could not fit people and stuff. So we got rid of that one.
You had 2 Teslas, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I'm envious of the fact you still own one, if that tells you anything. So Jim is, he knows his stuff, right? The big takeaway here is this guy's a freaking pro. And when it comes to media buying prowess, there are a few like him. He's also, there are some gurus out there, you'd probably know their names, that Jim is actually trained up. So he's not new in the space. He's got a proven track record consistently over more than a decade now. This guy's super solid. So anyways, not only that, I've gotten to know Jim. Jim's an awesome dude. Personally, I'd call him a friend. He's super warm-hearted teddy bear kind of guy as well. You wouldn't think that. Huh?
It's because I like junk food.
Yeah, well, just most like hardcore media buyers I know are they've got that Vulcan gene in them, right? They're kind of like Spock a little bit. You don't quite have that. There's some of that going on, but not so much. You've got a warm side. What's that?
I'm more of a Chewbacca kind of guy.
There you go. I like it. So we're going to get into today's coffee with Michael. Let's see here. Just in time for bourbon with Michael Chris. You can do bourbon if you want, I guess. Can you put bourbon and coffee together? Isn't that like a drink?
Especially Irish.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. So Jim is the media buying god, huh? Well, that's a little idolatrous, but yeah. he's definitely up there. Let's see. Not to brag, he had not one but two. Anyway, let's see. OG of OGs. Yeah, pretty much. So let's get into it. Are you ready to share, Jim, if I bring it up on the screen?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So we are going to be sharing Jim's Shot of Espresso guide that he prepared this week for you all. So Jim, I'll shut up and let you have the mic.
All right, cool. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate the humble introduction. It is media buying is not all roses and sunshine. If you're new to this game, media buying is a wonderful business. It is amazing. It's the fastest way I know to make a whole boatload of money. It can be incredibly frustrating. And I'm sure a lot of you guys and girls have been incredibly frustrated over the last several months since iOS 14 really came out. So I decided to really dive in and figure out how do we solve this, not just for us and our internal media buying efforts, but then how do we tell you guys to solve it as well. So this week's Shot of Espresso is all about winning that war on tracking. And if you notice, I'm looking directly up and to the right. It's because it's on one of my monitors up top. So we'll skip through this right here, this pop-up. This pop-up is what's causing all of our headaches. So this pop-up is now forcibly on 14.6 and then going forward on every app. So if you update that app and you saw that, then you have to choose to allow Facebook to track you now. Most people think tracking's bad, so they click don't track, or they ignore this thing and they're opted out of tracking by default. So what does that mean in a layman's term part of the world? And what that means is Facebook can't see everybody that goes to your site anymore. Facebook can't see all the purchases. I guess that's technically not true. Facebook can still see them all, but they can't use all of the data, right? So if a user opts out of 14.5 or opts out of tracking now on iOS, Facebook can get that data, but Facebook will filter that data out. And I'll talk about that later, I think, towards the end of the guide. But we fixed it. We got it solved for you guys. And now we're going to talk about how to fix it. And it's not a unique or brand new, like we created the thing. We just are using it in a better way. And that is UTM tags. So UTM tags have been around as long as I have, if not longer than I have in the internet marketing space. Although I will say, I have been around Facebook marketing longer than Facebook has allowed UTM tracking. We can put it that way, because I was there. I remember when they first brought this out, and then especially with dynamic tagging. So using UTM tags paired with first-party data will allow you to get 100% tracking. Now, it's a lot of marketing lingo and tech lingo. So what that means is you own your data when it comes to Shine-On's platform and when it comes to your Shopify store, depending on which avenue you use. The trick now is to be able to see that data on the first-party platform. So going to a third-party source, using UTMs and going through a third-party source like Google Analytics or another piece of software, that is technically now taking your first-party data and moving it to a third party. There are more laws and regulations about how that's a no-no. That, and coupled with the iOS 14 filters, is still causing tracking issues on Google Analytics. Not quite as much as on Facebook as of this moment, but it's actually a different problem. When we set it up for our test to try to find a solve for everyone on the Shopify store that we run, we noticed that they weren't under-reporting, but they were over-reporting. I'm like, so that's just as bad, right? So if you over-report, it's just as bad as under-report. What you want is accurate reporting, and this is what this gives us. So we're going to kind of break this up into two sections. First, the platform. If you're selling on the platform, this will apply to you. If you're on Shopify, then the next section will apply to you. After this coffee with Michael, we are going to be uploading a walkthrough over-the-shoulder video for you, which really goes step by step. Here's where you push this button and click that button and insert this, because some of us work good by reading, some of us learn by listening, and others, if you're like me, do good by watching and over the shoulder. Show me how to do it once and I'm good. So we want to be able to provide that to you, but I thought that would take way too much time to show, and it's kind of overlap of what the shot does, so we're just going to do that right after the coffee with Michael. So what you'll do is you'll take the UTM tag. So let's break down the sections of this. This is required, UTM underscore campaign. This is required for Shine On's platform to see it. This section, SO dash, is also required for Shine On's platform to see it. This is a dynamic token. What that means is that whatever you name your ad name in Facebook, it will pull that in and you will see that. So it's very, very, very important, whether you're on platform or on Shopify. Going forward, if you're going to use UTMs, you need to make sure that all of your campaigns, all of your ad sets, and all of your ads have unique names to them. They can be almost the exact same name, just multiplying by numbers. Like a common scaling strategy would be take the winning ad set and duplicate it 2 or 3 times. If you just duplicate it 2 or 3 times, you're going to get the same name for each ad set. That will mess up UTM tracking. Okay, you will not be able to see the individual conversions on each ad set. So if you're going to do, and I'll show an example of this here, but if let's say you're targeting family for one of your necklaces, you would want to do in your naming convention, you would want to be family 1, family 2, family 3, family 4. It's a little monotonous, couple minutes of extra work, but it is so worth it because you'll actually be able to see your data. So you'll go into your ads manager and you will go down to in the edit ads section. So, you know, when you go into ads manager, you create an ad, you'll have your campaign, your ad set, and your ad. Your ad sections where you actually put in your image or your video and you put in your primary text and headline. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll get to URL parameters. And that is where you will paste in your ad, your UTM tag. Now, there are different versions of this dynamic token, depending on what you want to track. If you want to just do ad names, put ad.name. You want to do ad set.name. If you want to do the campaign name, campaign.name. All right, and those are all be provided in the guide. So there's just literally copy and paste type of stuff. Okay. Once that's in there, then Shine On's platform will be able to collect the data as people come through your ads and show it one by one with 100% accuracy. So to access that, there's a couple of ways. If you have run traffic, but you don't have sales yet, but you want to look at add to cart data or initiate checkout data, you can go into products, all products, and then whatever product it is, whatever you're running traffic to at that time, you would select the little graph icon, and then that would take you to the UTM dashboard. If you have purchases already, you can click on analytics and then the title of the top seller. Either way, you'll get to the analytics page, scroll down a little bit, and you'll get a report like this, which at the time of this had 4 purchases. The video I recorded, I did this same example, and you'll actually see it had 1 additional sale. So that's the difference in the two. We were running this test just to test some stuff, including UTM tracking. So this was 100% accurate for us. It tracked which, in this realm, this was just the ad name. And we had our own naming convention of, we had to add the SO came from the token that we added, SO dash, and then the ad name. So our ad name was family-YAE image. So what is that? Family was the target we were pushing our traffic to. So our interest target on the ad set. The ad name was YAE image. And that was because we were testing individual images and whether different angles and things like that. Okay, so you would want to create a unique image name and then also a unique targeting. And you can see that family and pets both got us a pretty good conversion rate on this one. So that's what we're all looking for, right? We're all looking for, hey, I'm running my ads. I've got all these sales on my platform or on the store, but I can't see them in Ads Manager. When we were running these tests, On average, Ads Manager was pulling in 54% of our conversions. That makes it awfully hard to optimize and pick and choose and grow, right? So running these reports will show us, nope, my sales are 100% accurate. I know that family's got some legs in this design, pets has legs in this design. Let's go play in these. And then, okay, this one didn't work out. Let's turn these ones off. So now we're able to accurately see again where our sales are coming from, where our add to carts are coming from, and then our platform shows them as checkouts, but that's really initiate checkouts. Okay, so to speak the same apples to apples language between Facebook Ads Manager and our platform.
So hey Jim, do you mind if I kind of jump in?
Go for it.
And I kind of want to recap what you're saying real quick.
Yep.
So you're saying that basically when you get to the ad section, right, inside of Facebook, and you scroll down, and what's the name of it? It's there's a name of this, link parameters, right?
URL parameters.
URL parameters. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a section in the ad where if you scroll down, it's on the left-hand side, you'll get to URL parameters. That's where you can put in a UTM code or a UTM tag. Now, the tags you're referring to, like those variable names, which is like ad.name, adset.name, those kinds of things.
Yep.
Those are actually, you can actually get to those right there inside of Ads Manager as well. When you click the little help icon that's there in the URL parameters, it'll give you those tag names. So we have them in the guide and you can copy paste them, but you can also get them right there inside of Ads Manager. And they're just variables. So what happens is, and Jim, correct me here if I speak out of line here. What happens here though is you'll add the like campaign.name, adset.name, ad.name, and all it does is it's going to plug in your unique naming conventions for your campaign, for your ad set, for your ad into that UTM code, right? Then when you see the data inside of Shine On, can you scroll down to where Shine On? There you go. When you see the data in there, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the code you associated to the ad, right? Correct. So you'll see the campaign, the ad set, and then the ad.
Let me interject real quick. So what you're seeing here is this is the SO part of the tag that we added. And then this was that squiggly bracket, ad.name, squiggly bracket.
Right. And so this allows you to essentially know which of your ads are performing the best, right? So then you can make intelligent decisions on what you leave on, what you turn off, which interests you keep pursuing, that kind of thing. Now, the difference here, and this is, you were starting to get into this, and I'll shut up so you can elaborate further. But there's a difference here between tracking 100% of the activity, right, and knowing which of the ads are performing the best, and what I'm calling attribution, which is Facebook's ability to take that data, right, to know which of your ads are performing the best, and then use it to optimize the pixel and the campaign. Facebook is choosing to turn a blind eye to that. They have to. They have an agreement with Apple via iOS 14 to say, hey, anybody that's opted out of tracking, I can't use that data to optimize the ads. I can't do it. I have to turn a blind eye to it. I have to throw it away, right? So Facebook can't do anything meaningful with the data. They can't even show it to you in Ads Manager. That's why in Ads Manager, all the data is jacked up. But if you use the UTM section in our analytics on the platform, you can track 100 to near 100% accuracy and still make intelligent decisions about which of your ads and such to optimize. Am I basically getting that right?
Yes. Yeah. So basically what we're looking at right now with Facebook is we'll see, just as an example, let's say these two campaigns, they both got purchases. We have 4 total purchases. If I remember correctly, I had this one, the family one showed 1 purchase, and the pets one showed 0 purchases when I was trying to optimize that day. So it's very frustrating from a media buying standpoint, right? If you're just looking at Ads Manager, because they don't have all the purchases. And it's not necessarily Facebook's fault per se. It's iOS Apple, right? Like Apple says, you can't track us. So if you got unlucky and you're running traffic to all placements, so everybody, right? iOS, Android, desktop, right side, newsfeed, whatever, and you got all that traffic going, and then let's say 2 of these people that are on iOS, and they opted out of tracking. Okay, they chose not to allow tracking. So that means Facebook will actually receive that data. They get it because of conversion API, because our attribution sends the data back. The issue is that Facebook says, oh, these guys are opted out. We can't do anything with it. We can't opt them. We can't send them to your ad account to optimize your pixel, and we can't show them reporting in your ads manager because of the agreement that Apple and Facebook have. So it's not so much that Facebook's broken or our attribution is terrible or conversion API doesn't work or any of that. It has nothing to do with it. The software still works. The problem is Facebook can't show it all, right? Like they get it. They get the data. They just can't. If you opted out and you bought something off an ad, fantastic. We don't get to see that, and that doesn't help us optimize. So that's the second half of this, right? The first half, and I honestly think is the more important half, is being able to have confidence in the data I'm looking at to make decisions on a media buying standpoint. I think it's more important. I like if I can say, no, these are the ones that are working well. These are the ones that are doing their job by getting us sales. I can work with the rest of that.
Yeah, you can adjust your campaign strategies, right? As long as you can track correctly. You have to have
I'm going to talk about something that we're finding decent success with that I want everybody to start testing.
Right. You have to have the ability to track to near 100% so you can make intelligent decisions with your ads. And then you don't have to worry about the pixel or the algorithm. The big kind of method I became known for was a method I called IM algorithm. And it's lots of media buyers have done this. It's where you just use strategies with lots of ad sets and lots of ads, and then you're making your own decisions on what stays on or off based on the data. Well, the data and ads manager, which we used to be able to rely on, is crap now, and we have to rely on a third-party source. Well, thankfully at Shine On in the platform, you now have that. So all you have to do is look at the data in the platform and then make decisions in ads manager. And the problem is basically solved. You're back in business like that.
Correct. Which is why I was when I tested it and I saw the results and I was like, you're kidding me, right? It's this simple. And then not only is it this simple for our platform users, but it's also this simple for our Shopify users. And that to me was more eye-opening because I've been selling on a Shopify store since 2013.
Dude, I about fell over when I saw this too. This is pretty awesome.
So like 8 years I've run Shopify and I had no idea that this existed until like 2 weeks ago. So the guide walks you through setting up CAPI, which is Conversion API. That's very important. That will it's the one weapon Facebook has equipped us with to try and get more data back to Facebook. So if you don't have it set up, set it up. You got to add your sales channel, add Facebook, go to settings, data sharing, and then you click maximum, save, choose your pixel, done. Okay, that's how involved it is to set up CAPI. One more step would be going into your events manager, choosing the pixel, clicking on settings, scrolling down to choose partner, choose Shopify, follow the prompts. Conversion API is 100% set up for Shopify users. Okay, setting up Conversion API for Shopify users yields right now roughly 60% of your purchases. Whee! Can't really do a whole lot with that, right, guys? Like it's not that helpful. So similar solve, less a longer string of UTM. So still UTM, except now because Shopify's reporting does put them in columns. You can do all three if you want. You can do all three in a variation on the platform. And I have zero problem. I can give you that stuff where you can see all of it. The only issue with the platform is the column width doesn't show everything. So if you've got long campaign names, long ad set names, and long ad names, it will get cut off. That's why I recommend picking one, whether you're going to vary the ad name, the ad set name, or campaign. With Shopify, you're able to copy the whole bit and then go to the same spot in the edit ads and then just paste it in. Now, one caveat with this. I am almost positive this will not work if you are on Shopify Lite. If you're on the $29.99 plan, I do not believe you get access to these reports. So if you're on Shopify or Advanced Shopify, you have these reports. I don't currently have any store that is on Shopify Lite, so I can't verify that yet. But I don't want to tell you, yeah, it's available on all of it, and then you come and find out it's not. So if it's not, and you're on $29.99 plan, and you are running ads, and you're trying to build a brand and make this a success, I can't tell you or force you to spend an extra $50 to Shopify. Michael and I do not get a commission from Shopify by saying, go to the $79.99 plan. What I can say is check to see if these reports are available to you. If they're not, have a serious conversation with yourself about whether or not it's worth the $50 a month investment. And I'm not you, I don't run your business, right? So you have to make that decision on your own. It doesn't affect me one way or another, but hopefully.
So hang on.
Yeah.
I need to jump in. Grandpa Michael will make that decision for you. You definitely need to make the investment because what are you drinking, dude?
Perrier.
What is it?
Perrier, sparkling water.
Oh, okay. I thought we were reaching for other kinds of beverages here. So no,
water.
you do definitely need to make this purchase. So just hear me out. If you're going to be running Facebook ads, I promise you, you're going to throw away a heck of a lot more than $50 a month trying to optimize ads blindly, right? Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain the impediment that iOS 14 is to media buying on Facebook. I've got to imagine it's similar to like flying an airplane with no dashboard, right? Like you can't tell if you're level, you can't tell which direction you're headed. You like I've got to imagine, or driving a car blindfolded or something. It's got to be something akin to that. Like you literally can make zero intelligent decisions without accurate data. Like it is impossible. I mean, literally impossible. You can't do it. So some way, somehow, you got to solve the tracking problem. And if it only costs $50 to do it, and you're going to be using Facebook ads anyway, you need to do it. You just need to do it. Take it from Grandpa Mike. That's what you should be doing.
I mean, and there are other benefits and bells and whistles that Shopify gives you for upgrading too. But again, I'm not a salesman for Shopify. So let's get back to the reporting part because that's the part that's cool. If you go to Analytics, then Reports, scroll all the way down to the bottom right-hand side, you will click Sales Attributed to Marketing. Okay. This little report will come up. Now, if you do not have UTM tags set up, and if you have them set up, but no traffic has run through them yet, you will not see any data. Okay. So you need the UTM tags set up and the ads have to be running so you can see the data. Assuming you've done those steps and traffic is running, you will get this type of screen. You will want to uncheck this little box because I'll talk about what UTM campaign is not NA in a second. That's actually kind of important to see that. And it's also really cool because those usually mean pre-sales. Then you go to Edit Columns. In Edit Columns, you want to add these to it. You want to have UTM content, term, traffic referrer name, and source. I'll talk about below when we actually walk through the data. I'll show where these are useful and where these are not useful in just a second. But these are the columns you would want to add to them all. Once you've added them, now you'll get to see, guess what? All of your data, 100% accurate. I mean, there's now, I'm going to talk through this and I'm going to give you a homework assignment and please do it. Okay. Because I like literally mouth dropped open going, this makes life so much easier now. And I'll tell you here in a second. So we have our campaign name. So here's our campaigns. We have our term, which is the ad name, and then ad set. I actually had to scroll over a little bit so you could see the other bits of data. But we do have our campaign name, our ad set name, and our ad name. So because of our dynamic tokens that we use here, content is what you want to get the ad set name, and term is what you want to get the ad name. That's the only reason why we do content and term. You can see if you break out your traffic referrer name and source, you can now see if it comes from Facebook or Instagram, and whether it's direct or Google or any other traffic referrer. Right now on this store, we're only getting traffic either direct to the store on Facebook or Instagram. So it will break it out for you, and it'll tell you what the type of traffic is, whether it's social or direct or email or blah, blah, blah. What's cool about NA is that a lot of times you'll see your revenue in Shopify, and it won't quite match up with the revenue anywhere else, whether it's Facebook Ads Manager or whatever. And the reason is that those are direct sales. Somebody somewhere found you and typed in your URL, clicked on it and said, hey, I want to buy this. Pre-sales. The other area where the NA is good, and to break down traffic referrer name and source, is seeing, so I've got NA, Facebook social. What does that mean? That means that someone organically came from Facebook and 2 people bought, because there's 2 separate orders. They are not tagged. So either one of 2 things. Either you did not tag all of your ads with UTM, or, and more likely, they came from an organic referral. Facebook is a social network, right? So people like, comment, and share on ads all the time. If a person shares your ad and one of their friends sees the ad, clicks on the ad, and buys the thingy that you're selling, that is not an ad impression that you paid for. It's an organic impression that came because the person who got the ad impression decided to share your post or your ad. That is why it's organic sales. Facebook only charges you, UTMs will only track on paid ad impressions. So that's why you will get more sales in Shopify than you will see in reporting. Michael,
so if you put the if you actually paste your URL into the ad copy, is Facebook adding the UTM parameters and all that to link clicks?
In the primary text section, you would have to put the whole UTM string in that.
Oh, it won't put it. Okay.
Not automatically. The only thing it automatically appends from the URL parameters is on the link that you input on the ad itself.
On the button, basically.
Ad. Correct.
I got it.
Okay. So now there's a couple of other ways to like force the UTMs in. So if you, what I would say, because the UTMs are going to make your URL really long and ugly, right? You can create a URL redirect in your Shopify store, where you can go to navigation, then do URL redirects and go, I want this really long, ugly line with all the UTM stuff, and I want it to redirect to where I actually want it to go. And then, actually, I guess it would be, I want this really pretty link.
Be the other way.
Redirect all the ugly ones, that backwards.
Yeah.
And then you can put the pretty link in there, but it's still coming from your domain. It's not a bit.ly link, so you don't have to worry about, is my reputation getting slandered or anything like that, because it's bit.ly. And I don't know if, like, that's just an urban myth type of thing on Facebook, that if you use a link shortener, you get higher CPM costs. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just a legend. But that's where those sales are coming from. It's not an error. It's just somebody clicked on it from an organic, like let's say a wife saw it, and it's a husband to wife necklace, and the wife saw the necklace, and they're like, John Smith, you need to buy this for me right now, and tags her husband, right? And then John Smith sees the thing and clicks on it and goes, yes, dear, and buys it for her. You can't tell me that doesn't happen, right? Clearly it happens. So they buy it, but it's off of an organic referral. It's an organic impression, not a paid impression. So it'll show up as NA, not as your ads.
So, hey, I have another question.
Yeah.
So you did this work to build out this reporting view inside of Shopify here. Can you save that, or you have to rebuild it every time you close it?
Okay, so if you are on advanced Shopify, the $299 plan, they let you save it. If you're on the regular Shopify plan for $79.99, they do not.
Got it.
I don't know why that's worth $250 more.
So basically build it and don't close that window.
Well, I mean, it literally takes 30 seconds to build. It's not that, I mean, you'll come to find, like, so now that I've been using it more and more, right, since we figured it out, when I'm optimizing ads, I do not have referrer name or source on there. And the reason being, I explained this in the walkthrough video too, is that if you are running an ad, running an ad set, and you get one sale from Facebook and one sale from Instagram, this report, because you're asking it to break out the traffic referrer name, would actually break out each sale individually by the referrer. It said one sale would come from Facebook, one sale would come from Instagram. So when I'm not diving into where my NA sales came from, I do not have traffic referrer name or source on it. I leave those lumped together because then I can, this ad set got this number of sales. Now, if I have one ad set that's getting a whole bunch of sales and I want to see, well, are these Facebook or Instagram? Because I'm interested, should I set up more Facebook only ads or Instagram only ads? Then yes, you could break that out and you could see how many sales. Like we had one where we had 5 sales on Facebook, 4 sales on Instagram, pretty even. We'll leave it all traffic. Make sense? So now one of the questions they're probably looking at going, well, we see all the sales data, but where's our add to cart and where's our initiate checkout data, right? So on Shopify, it's actually a different report. It's a second report. So where you see your sales is sales attributed to marketing. If you want to see add to cart and initiate checkouts, you need to go to the sessions attributed to marketing. And then it's the same type of thing. So it's this report. Then you can create your own columns again, which are down here. And then you'll see add to carts. And they call it reach checkout. It's actually initiate checkout. And then the number of sessions that converted plus the conversion rate.
Yeah, you're basically rebuilding. Once again, you're rebuilding what you typically look at in Ads Manager right inside of Shopify.
Correct. Except this is 100% accurate.
Right.
And it's accurate because it's first party, right? Like the data, the people that visited, added to cart, bought our stuff came to this site, our site. So we own that data. We don't have to send it anywhere. It can't filter through iOS because it's direct. It's first party. It circumvents that legally. We're not breaking any laws or anything like that. So these 2 Shopify reports gives you 100% accurate tracking on all of your ads, which I would much rather, would I like to have all this great data go back to Facebook to help me optimize? Yes. Final topic, what can we do to help ourselves get more sales in this new world? 1, have accurate tracking, okay? So that you can turn on and off the right things. You can expand on the audiences or the creatives that are working well. 2, just because Facebook can't use the data doesn't mean we also can't force Facebook to get us the right people. Tested a few different things. I went back to 2013. I dusted off my tactics back then, and I decided, what happens if we target really small audiences? I mean, like 10,000 people in the audience. What would happen? Tested that. Didn't work that great. Couple are working out okay, but then there is going to be the obvious problem of, well, if there's 10,000 people in the audience, how do you scale that? And really the only way to scale that method is to identify a whole bunch of tiny little audiences. Kind of good news is it didn't work all that great. Large audiences seem to work really well. Super large, like demographic only audiences work really well. So no interest, no lookalikes. I know that most husbands are between the ages of 30 and dead, and they're males. If we're targeting husbands to wives, right? So demographic targeting does seem to work quite well. Now, whether you on big audiences like family or married or whatever, like those huge audiences too, those work. They can work. They work well for us. So big audiences still are working for us currently. How do we make them work better? Well, Facebook gives us the ability for manual placements. We aren't forced to give iOS people our traffic. So we can go ahead, go into the ad set, which I show that on the walkthrough video. You go in the ad set, manual placements, and just do Android traffic only. So you still get desktop and you get Android traffic. You just omit iOS. Some things that can happen there. Your CPMs can go up a little higher because you're cutting out some of the audience. So it does depend on the overall audience size if you're only showing Android traffic. Because let's be honest, iOS is about 40-ish of mobile traffic. So you still get 60%, and 60% of 50 million people is still an awful lot of people, right? In our tests, large audience, iOS omitted, is working quite well. And the cool part that I like the best is every sale that we've had in those campaigns so far has made it back to Facebook in our ads manager. So will it work for you? Not a clue, right? We can't guarantee. Like, I wish I could say, do this, do this, do this, and you will be a millionaire in 40 days. It just doesn't work that way on Facebook. Like, what Michael and I are working in the same business. He has an ad account, I have an ad account. We could run the exact same thing and it performed differently. Now, hopefully, what we're trying to do here is identify structures and ways and things to test that works for the majority of the time. We can't guarantee 100% of the time. And what I would suggest is try it. If you have a campaign running, set up a duplicate campaign without iOS traffic and see. Did my CPM cost go sky high? How are my conversions? Right? So put a little bit of testing budget out there and compare and contrast. But that is the only surefire way I know that any purchases that come over from through Facebook ad traffic will get reported in Ads Manager, more than likely, and will use to optimize that campaign and make your pixel smarter.
So look, we're going to move to Q&A for a little bit here with Jim. We'll probably do Q&A for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. You good for that, Jim?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Before we do, though, I just kind of want to recap. I want to take it from the top very, very quickly. So whatever questions you guys have, go ahead and start dropping them in the comments now. And in a few minutes, I'm going to start going through the comments and your questions, and we'll get you some answers. So real quick recap. It sounds like the process for getting accurate tracking, right, on the platform and the Shopify app is essentially the same, right? It's
Correct.
Using UTM parameters in the ads. So at the ad level, you scroll down to URL parameters, then you can add some UTM tracking codes in there, and that's going to feed back into either the analytics section of the Shine On platform or the reports section of Shopify, and it's going to show you exactly which ads are giving you sales and which ones aren't. Now, in order for it to work correctly, you have to, you're going to need a unique naming convention for the campaign, ad set, and ad, because if they're all the same, if you have 10 ad campaigns, ad sets, and ads with all the same name, then they're all going to attribute to the same UTM code, and you're not going to be able to tell which ad is truly getting you sales and which one isn't. So that's important. Each campaign, ad set, and ad needs to have a unique UTM parameter. And if you use the short codes that Facebook provides, then you need to have unique names for the campaign, ad set, and ad. On the platform side, you also have to have that SO prefix. All this is in the guide. So if you read through the guide, you're going to get it. Now, practically speaking, right, the reason all of that is important is because as you're running ads and you want to make, you want to make your campaigns profitable, you want to optimize them to profitability, you can't make good decisions without accurate data, right? And this is what allows you to get accurate tracking data, right? The ability to see exactly which ads are working for you is absolutely 100% key to being able to optimize anything into profitability, right? Everything else is just guessing and flying blind, right? So that's the big advantage you get here from using this process. You get near 100% accurate tracking. Then you can take that information and you can go manually optimize your campaigns and your ads, right? And Jim, and this is kind of where you were heading at the end there. Now that you've got this cracked, right? And so I think you cracked this in the last week or week and a half. Now that you have this cracked, you're going to start experimenting with new campaign methods and ad structures and things like that to figure out exactly what's going to work best now that we have 100% tracking, but essentially no like attribution and pixel optimization on the Facebook side. Is that about right?
Correct. So before we figured this part out, it was, I don't even know what to test because I can't see the results of the test, right? Now we know how to see the results of the test. So now it's game on. It's let's go out and let's test a whole bunch of different methodologies because we can see which methodology is going to work. And then once we find one that works, guess who's going to get to find out that too, right? Like once we find stuff that works, I exist in Shine On to find stuff that works and then to tell you guys what works. That's my whole purpose of being.
Well, we're glad you're here, Jim. You and your
Thanks,
Tesla.
Michael. I've never been someone's idol before.
Yeah. But so like to Jim's point real quick, back in remember guys, the Facebook pixel, the optimization, it wasn't always around, right? So there was a period here where this was standard operating procedure, right? You ran tests and then based on the tracking information, right? The data that came back, you just made decisions about what to cull, what to keep on, what to kind of tweak or optimize or whatever. We're just back in those days. This didn't throw us back into the Stone Ages. It just set us back a few years. That's literally all it's done here. So now that we've got the tracking thing cracked, it's really just about getting out some of the old methods that were used, dusting them off, and then trying them again today to see which ones work and which ones don't. And Jim's going to be doing that with Michael's Appt over the next week or two. And as soon as we have something that's working, obviously, it's going to be shared. You got some more shots coming your way. So we've got some questions kind of pouring in here. Let me kind of filter through these a little bit. So here's one. I don't understand if I'm supposed to include the question mark when setting up the ad. Do we need the question mark at the end of the URL that's entered in the body primary text box or the website URL or the destination section or both or not at all? So
it's a very confusing question, but I know what they're asking. So a lot of times there is, you have a URL string, question mark, and then you add the UTM codes. You do not need to add a question mark anywhere. Facebook does that automatically, okay? The only place that you would need to do that is if you were going to do like a pretty link redirect type of thing. So if all you're planning on doing is putting your product URL into Facebook ads as normal, then you put the URL the UTM parameters, scroll them up just so we can see since we're talking about them. You would just put this in the URL parameters. Don't worry about a question mark at the front, okay? Facebook does that for you.
Okay, sweet. Here's one from Nelson. For the manual placements, what placements specifically did you tick or use? Newsfeed, marketplace, etc. Thank you.
I show it specifically like how to access it in the walkthrough video we'll be posting soon. But in a nutshell, we still leave all of the actual placements in there. If you do manual placement and you scroll to the bottom of that section, you'll see show more or show advanced or whatever. You click that and then it'll say, there'll be a couple of drop downs. And you click the drop, it's like all mobile traffic. And you click the drop down, it'll say Android only or iOS only. You would just select Android only from there. But again, I show that in the walkthrough video towards the end of the video.
Okay, here's one. This is so does the UTM apply for non-iOS users? I use Windows and I have an Android phone. Do I still need to use the UTM?
Yes.
There's some confusion
so
here.
UTM has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your website visitors. So if you are not running ads on Facebook or any other ad platform, no, UTM codes do not count for you. If you are going to run paid traffic, you need to institute the UTM codes because you're not so much interested in tracking your behavior as interested as tracking your users' behavior. So you got an ad, you show it to people, they click on the ad to get to your website. You want to be able to track that person who clicked on your ad, went to your website, and then did other actions like add it to cart, initiate a checkout, and purchase. So yes, UTM does apply to you even if you are on Android and Windows.
All right. Then Nelson has another one. I might have missed it, but what was successful based on your testing? All devices, PC, mobile, etc.
Okay, so if you're referring back as an extension question to where you go to get the manual placements, we set up 5 separate campaigns, 3 of which were very profitable after day 1 when we removed iOS traffic. And by profitable, I mean like above a 3x. And then after day 2, actually after day 3, we had 2 that were still really strong, and then we're working on those to scale those up to see, all right, if we give them more budget, will it stay? So it was all devices, PC for desktop use. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. MacBooks, the actual computers of Apple, are not affected by this, okay? It's just iOS, people. iOS is the operating system of iPhones and iPads, so your mobile devices. And the reason why that it doesn't apply to MacBooks is Facebook is just a website, facebook.com, okay? They have, if you use Safari's browser, that's a whole separate thing. So if you're on a Mac computer and you use Safari, Apple can install checks and balances to whether they track you or not. But because you own a Mac computer, you're still allowed to get a Chrome browser or Firefox browser or DuckDuckGo or whatever, right? And they have their own sets of rules and things and that.
It's really because Apple owns the iOS store, the Apple Store.
Correct.
And in order to have the app in the Apple Store, you got to play by their rules, right?
Correct.
So it's just one of those things. I actually think we might be near the end of the questions. Here's one. There's been 2 questions now kind of related to Google. So does the strategy work for Google ads?
Yeah, I mean, UTMs are UTMs, right? Like UTMs are literally, the U stands for universal. So I would absolutely be putting these on for Google ads as well.
Yeah. So, and then, outside of that, you've got some Halafinuja. You got a lot of people that were seriously thankful for you coming on here, Jim, and cracking the code and sharing all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the last comment that you had was, why didn't I think of this earlier? Exactly. I was eight years, and the last 3 or 4 months, I'm like trying to beat my head. We're looking at extra softwares, coding our own software, talking to high-end developers to try to figure this all out. And then I'm like, you know what would really work best for Shopify stuff is if Shopify would just show us the information. So I started hunting inside of Shopify, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Done, fixed, we're good. Like, duh.
It is weird that it's such a simple solution. Like, I almost didn't believe it.
Right.
You know, part of that is because when the whole adpocalypse was, simmering up. So like, we're talking in the days where like iOS 4, we were building up to the iOS 14 release. And then I would even say the few weeks after it, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of misinformation about what the implications were. And there were some pretty high level guru type folks that I knew that were saying that UTM tracking and things like that would not actually solve the entire problem. But when you really understand kind of what's going on here with iOS 14, there's no reason it shouldn't, because UTM tracking is not within their realm of control, right? It's outside of their purview.
Yes and no. It depends on if it goes to a third party or not. So see, UTMs are not the solve in and of itself. It's UTMs coupled with first party reporting, I guess is the correct way to say that. So for example, I set UTM tracking up. When I initially set it up, I did it to connect to Google Analytics. And then I was looking at Google Analytics, I was really excited because for first 3 hours, we were spot on. Then by the end of the day, they were 7 sales over reported. And I'm like, well, that's not helpful either. So that's when I had the thing where I was like, I wonder if Shopify just does this on our own. Because anytime you take the data off of your website that you control and send it somewhere else, there's still things that happen, right? So in the case where the one of our Shine Honors asked about, will this work for Google ads? Yes, because you're sending Google traffic to Shine On with those UTMs, and you're tracking it with Shopify's reporting, not back to Google Analytics. So
yeah, I get it.
Right?
You're saying, because if it bounces back, then Google could scrape, right? Or Facebook could scrape, right? But
you're saying sure of all the legalities, because there are third-party pixel laws that are passing, right? So these ad networks are limited on what they can do based off of laws and regulations and all this stuff. And I will expand that and say, this solution may not work well for like a standalone funnel builder that doesn't have a built-in analytics. So like, I haven't been on ClickFunnels in a while. I don't know if they have a UTM analytics dashboard. If they don't, you can set it up, but you won't be able to see it inside of ClickFunnels dashboard. So you're in the same boat as Google Analytics, because most of the time you set up UTMs, or with Google tags, right? You set up the UTM stuff, it gets pinged back to Google Analytics and you can see it. Now, there might be a smarter person than me out there. There's a ton of them out there that know Google Analytics way more than I do. Maybe I set something up wrong, but I followed all the directions. I verified it. I'm a pretty decent tech guy when it comes to that thing. And it was over-reporting. The reason why I'm confident in what I'm sharing today is that I'm not relying on anything else besides sending traffic to my store. The data is collected on my store, and I review and analyze my data on my store. Same thing with the platform, right? We send traffic to the platform. The data is collected on the platform, and we look at it on our platform.
Right. We own the data. So, hey guys, do me a favor here. So this week's Coffee with Michael was not announced kind of in advance due to, like I told you, we had some scheduling stuff that kind of popped up. So it was kind of this last minute thing. And as such, it wasn't announced ahead of time. People weren't expecting it. In fact, I told people we weren't going to have one. The emails didn't go out. So I'm not sure that this is going to get the same visibility as some of my others. So do me a favor if you could. First of all, hit the like button on the post here. Hit the like button on the post. Make sure you like it. It's going to help that kind of rise up in the algorithm and get more attention. Secondly, I would so appreciate it if you would go out to your drop shipping friends, your print on demand friends, your people in other groups, the folks you know that are running Facebook ads and really struggling with this iOS 14 thing. I'd so appreciate if you could go out to them and say, hey, Jim Crimella over at Shine On cracked the code on this, and link them back to this post so they can come watch this and they can get some help too. We just want to help everybody here. Rising tide lifts all boats. That's truly the way we see it. If you could go share this with all your friends and make sure that this starts to get out there, we would sincerely appreciate it. But with that, I want to thank everybody for joining this week's Coffee with Michael. We really appreciate having you. Hope you download this guide, hit the link in the description, go implement and practice these things. Any questions you have, drop them in the comments below. We'll try to follow up. And don't forget that Jim has a 40-minute walkthrough where he's actually going to go in and show you exactly how to set all this up, like blow by blow, that he's posting here in a little bit. So like I said, this is a double shot today, double shot. This is shot one. Shot two is coming in a little bit. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, really, it's just going to be however long it takes Facebook to process a 40-minute video. That's how long it'll take to post.
I do those all the time. It'll take 20 minutes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep, you're good. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.